sums in a geometric. Find the sum of the first 10 terms. Okay, so again, what I'm doing is I'm saying, what's 3 plus negative 6 plus 12 plus negative 24 plus, I'm adding these all up. Okay, so let's get the pattern here. What's going on in this pattern? It's geometric. So in other words, I'm multiplying by, what am I multiplying by every time? Did you think about a negative 2? Okay. So you have a formula here. So here's what we're going to do. So the sum of 10 terms equals the first term, so 3, the ratio, the common multiplier, is negative 2. You see how I put that in brackets? To the n, so how many terms are we talking about in this whole thing? We're talking about going to 10 terms. Minus 1 over the r minus 1. Okay. When you're doing this in your calculator, I want you to be very bracket happy. Put lots of brackets in when you think you need to put them in, okay? I'll let you try typing it, and I want to see if you can get the answer. The negative 2 to the 10th, that negative 2 better be in brackets. Negative 2 to the 10th, you have to have that negative 2 in brackets. Okay, and then I'm going to walk around a quick second to see if you're not getting that, and I can look at what you're maybe typing in. Got it? You got it? Didn't come out?
No, it came out.
It came out? Okay. You get it? No? You're typing here? No? Okay, you already need another bracket. So 3 bracket, and then a bracket, negative 2, bracket to the 10, minus 1, and then another bracket. You see how my brackets are? Bracket, 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 bracket. Divided by bracket, negative 2. Okay, then you need bracket, bracket. Yeah. Bracket minus 1. Bracket. Yeah. Came out? How's it going? Came out? How do you type? Let me see here if you're good. Oh, where's your, what is that? Just that guy right there. Okay, let me open this one. Okay, come on. You did? Name? Him? Got it? You just got it?
I've typed it in like 20 times.
Okay, let me see. Okay, I don't know. Well,
It
take
can
one
work
either way. Just go 2 brackets. Okay, negative 2 to the 10 minus 1 bracket. Divide by bracket. There. That might be. Okay, wait. Oh, negative 2 minus 1. One more bracket.
Well, I typed that in like, okay, well, never mind.
Okay, you know what? If the bracket stuff, if you're not good at the bracket stuff, this is what I would suggest doing. You ready? Here's what I did. I went like this, negative 2 to the 10th equals minus 1 equals times by 3. I'm just doing them in my order because I know my order, right? I did the exponent, the bracket, then the times by 3, and then I divided by, and then I just figured out the bottom. Okay? So if you don't like typing it all in once with brackets, if that's going to make you mess up, do things separate and then think about the order. Okay. Find the sum of the first eight terms. Okay, so let's get the R ratio first. What am I multiplying by? That's the question, right? What am I multiplying by? How did you get from a 4 to a 3? What did you multiply by? Can you see it? What do you do if you can't see it? We take any term and divide by a previous term if you can't see it. So if I take a term, divide it by a previous term, what am I multiplying by? 3/4. Okay? Remember, if you ever see a sequence that looks like it's getting smaller, your R is a fraction or a decimal. Okay, so sum of 8. Okay, I'm just going to write this out. You don't have to. Term 1 is 4. R is 3/4 to the 8th. Okay, so again, do all the brackets that you would see on my paper. You could type all that in, or you could be a person who types a bunch of things separate. And then we'll see if we match. And again, I'm going to come around to see if you're figuring out your buttons. Oh, you need another bracket. See how I have a bracket? So you need two brackets. 4 bracket, 3/4 bracket to the 8th. Minus 1, and then bracket. Divide by bracket, 3/4 minus 7. There. Hang on. Mark, where we at? Got it? Cool? All right. Nope. You good? Take a paper. Okay, I got it. Okay. Got it. All right, we did it. Okay, so that's that. It's mostly just making sure our calculator typing situation is good. Think about, what your sum would be. I always think like, okay, if I added like 4 plus 3 plus this, like if I kept going, does my answer kind of make sense, right? That's what I'm always thinking. Okay, in the last section, so these are geometric and they're convergent because, does this make sense? I'm timesing by what here? I'm timesing by a half, right? A half. Can you see if this sequence kept going? Can you visualize what's the next one? 0.5, then a quarter, right? Then an eighth, then a 16th. The sequence is just going to get smaller and smaller. Eventually it's so small, it's like that you're adding zero-ish, right? Like you're getting so small that you're adding decimals that are so small it's not really changing how much you're adding on, right? Does that make sense that that's what's going on? You're adding such a small amount it's not going to change. Okay, so what's the sum of this? If we keep going forever and ever, okay, so term 1 is 8. 1 subtract, what was our ratio? A half? Okay, can you type that in? And let's see if you can type it properly because you should get 16. Can you try that type? How you're typing it in, either using your order of operations separately or your brackets. Did we work? 16? Okay, I like these ones because they make sense to me. If I was to go like 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus a half plus 0.25 plus, what am I already up to here? This is 12, 14, 15, 15 and a half, 15.75. And then I keep adding small numbers. Does it make sense? 16 is what it'll eventually add up to, about. Okay. Next, we have to figure out what are we multiplying by. It's geometric, so what are we multiplying by? Actually, this one is easier to think about because what did you multiply 1 by to get to 3/4? 3/4. So for this, the r always has to be smaller than 1. It has to be a fraction or a decimal. But please don't try to use decimals because if you get caught with a 0.33 or a 0.66 in your calculator, you're going to get your answer thrown off because you're going to round it. So sum, infinite. This formula, not much to it, this one, so this is nice. So the first term is 4/3. 1 subtract the multiplier. Type it in and see what you get.